So I'm going to give you two pieces of advice that have changed my life and will definitely change yours. Okay? I am somebody who overfixates on the details. I overthink, I overcontemplate, I just fucking rationalize all of these bad habits that I fall into, and I rationalize not taking action. Like, my baseline is somebody who just thinks too much and takes too little action. I'm too much of a contemplator. And if you find that you are too, this advice will shock you out of it, will wake you up and allow you to take action effortlessly. So this advice is: done is better than perfect. All right. Completing a task is better than fixating on the details and perfection. Just done is better than perfect. All right. And two is just show up. All right. If you show up, half the battle's won, and that should be your only criteria for success. Just show up. So if we're thinking about like the gym, let's say, I would have trouble being consistent in the gym for pretty much the whole duration of like me working out. All right. But by shifting my focus, instead of focusing on the perfect workout and getting enough time in and enough reps in and making sure I, fucking get the biggest pump possible and the best workout of my life, instead of doing that, I tell myself, just show up to the gym. All right. And I tell myself this every time, whether I'm feeling it or not, whether I'm motivated to work out or not, my criteria is just show up. All right. And, that's easy. It saves me the pain and the trouble of focusing on the details of like, oh, now I have to, get my gym shoes ready and fucking get all my clothes ready and pack my bags and then commute there, and then it takes an hour and then I have to shower after that, and then just show up. All right. Secondly, done is better than perfect. I'm giving myself permission to just complete any workout possible, whether that's 10 push-ups and go home. All right, whether that's a 2-hour workout. All I have to do is churn out something that involves working out. So I've just shown up. That's the only criteria for success that I've given myself. And naturally, if I'm just going to show up to the gym, I'm going to start working out. Okay, that's just how it works. It's like, all right, well, I'm already here, so I might as well start fucking working out. Next is done is better than perfect. So by telling yourself all I have to do is do something, just get a workout done, and that's it, you're going to go ahead and start taking action. All right, you calm your mind, you calm all this overthinking bullshit about what workouts you'll do and like how much and like are you making enough progress, and you just shut your mind up and you just start lifting weights. And then naturally, most of the time when I tell myself done is better than perfect, I will get a good fucking pump in and a good workout in. All right. So this is how I essentially trick my brain and override my psychology and get myself to take action consistently. So every day I tell myself the same thing. Just show up, and done is better than perfect. When I was like 17, 16 years old and I just got into picking up girls and cold approach and stuff like that, I didn't have a wing for one, so that made things harder. So I didn't have anybody holding me accountable. I had to get myself to get off my ass and actually go talk to people if I wanted to improve my social skills, and if I wanted there to be even a chance that I would get any numbers or attract any women or whatever. And mind you, I was living in a small town with not a huge population and not many places to go to. All right. And most of the people there were older. But I'd tell myself, even then, just show up. All right, just show up and just do one approach. Done is better than perfect. But even if you don't, just show up, and that's good enough. And do that every day. Just show up. So I'd hop on my electric moped. I'd drive down to the nearest mall, and then I showed up. So I felt this sense of accomplishment, getting the only thing that I wanted myself to do done. And then naturally being there, it might have taken 5 hours of walking around, which is fucking crazy. But again, this is like the first few times I ever tried to go and talk to strangers, and it was horrifying for me. I was absolutely terrified. I was shaking. I was sweating. I was like stuttering and shit like that. But naturally, because I showed up, I allowed myself to go ahead and just attempt to do some approaches. So I did. And they were pretty fucking awful and cringe and horrifying and terrifying. But I managed to say something to a few people, in fact. And after that, I felt so accomplished. I felt so proud of myself. And then I went home, and each day after, I would tell myself again, just show up, and done is better than perfect. See, you don't have to be flashy. You don't have to have the best pickup session of your life and get numbers left and right. You have to lower your criteria for what is success. And that doesn't mean lower your criteria forever. It just means in the short term, when you're working towards building yourself up, you have to temporarily lower your criteria for what is an accomplishment, what you pat yourself on the back for, what you expect from yourself. Because, especially if you're starting from a lower point than the average person, you're going to have to do the bare minimum and start, with the newbie accomplishments before you start going out there killing it, being a badass motherfucker, like banging hoes left and right. Or even if you're new in the gym, you're going to have to start with the 10 pound, the 5 pound weights. You're probably only going to last like 10, 15 minutes of working out and then go home. You have to shut off your eyes directed towards other people, meaning you just keep on blinders towards anybody else but yourself. You don't look at anybody else's accomplishments. You don't look at what anybody else is doing, the speed at which people are improving themselves. You don't look at anything. All you look at is yourself, and consciously blind yourself to everything else that everyone else is doing. All right, because that's going to discourage you, and that's going to fuck up your momentum if you actively look at how everybody else is progressing in anything, even in business. You see other entrepreneurs. Let's say you want to be an entrepreneur and you're fucking suck shit, and then you see other people within like 3 months of starting, they're just already making thousands of dollars, or like they just get a really fast start and they're just being hugely successful. And then there's you. That doesn't matter. All right, there are other variables at play that influence other people's success and your success. And there might be lag time from when you start to when you reach your peak. And your peak might even be higher than other people's. But that's completely fucking irrelevant. It doesn't matter. All that matters is that you live a fulfilling life and you achieve the goals that you want to achieve. You achieve the progress that you want to achieve, and you become better than you were yesterday. That's really all that matters. Okay? So, again, you don't look at anybody else. You actively avoid learning about anybody else's progress, and you focus only on your own. All right? And the only times you look back into the past are to compare the progress you've made from like yesterday to today. All right? But even then, it doesn't matter if you're making exponential progress or the progress is incredible. The only criteria you need to focus on is that you are better today than you were yesterday. And that will allow you to gain momentum. And you'll be shocked at actually how hard you work and how much you achieve if you give yourself the bare minimum criteria. Because naturally, you're going to ramp things up without having to tell yourself, I'm going to give my best attempt possible. Eventually, you're just going to do that naturally, because you're going to naturally want to surpass the bare minimum criteria that you set for yourself. In order to achieve big things, you have to set the bar low for yourself initially, all right? And consistency is the most important thing. Like if you're going out and you're talking to women, consistency is the most important thing. You just want to train your brain to learn that, okay, this is something that I'm doing daily. This is one of my daily habits. This is something that I just naturally do. So if you go out, even if you just go out and just show up, even if you go to a club by yourself every night if you can, or just a venue or some kind of public place every day, every night if you can, then you're training your brain to pick up on this habit and then just keep it going, so that it's natural for you to just naturally go ahead and do this. You're just going to automatically on autopilot go to the mall every day in an attempt to go and talk to people. And then naturally you will go and talk to people because you're physically there. All right. And even if you talk to just one girl a day, that's 7 a week. That's 30 in a month. All right. That's a lot of women. All right. That's 30 more than you otherwise would had you not even just shown up and just done is better than perfect. So this is why, honestly, I think people are naturally very unhappy and depressed. And social media, like Instagram, is only fueling people's depression. The reason why is because we're all comparing ourselves to other people's progress and achievements, always seeing what other people are doing. Like, oh, so and so is making this much money, so and so has this fucking hot girlfriend, or this many hoes, or like, it's just a mess. And it's going to inhibit your progress because you're going to rationalize in your head, well, fuck, why even bother trying? You know, like, this person's so far ahead of me already. Why should I even start? When it's like, no, that's not the case. For one, social media exaggerates people's accomplishments. And two, just because your peak might happen later than somebody else's doesn't mean you're inferior. It just means they got an earlier start than you. Okay? And it's honestly the ego telling you that you have to match up with others or you have to surpass others. All that really matters in this life is, are you happy? Are you happy with your quality of life right now? Are you happy with your sex life? Are you happy with the amount of money you're making? Are you happy with your body, your fitness, etc.? If the answer is no, then you take action on your own terms. And it should not be in relation to anybody else's achievement or anybody else's action that they're taking. Which is why it's important to blind yourself to other people's accomplishments and action and shit like that. All right? Because you're not trying to relate it to others. You're just trying to relate it to, what's my quality of life now and what do I want my quality of life to be later. You don't boast about your accomplishments. You don't even tell people about your accomplishments. And you certainly don't ask others or even inquire about their accomplishments, because that's just going to fuck you up. And you don't need that. All right? You're not trying to slow yourself down. You're not trying to lie to yourself and psych yourself out when it's like you can be a huge success. But success is based on your perception of yourself, not what other people tell you like they think of your success. Ultimately, you gotta not give a fuck if people hate on you and talk bad about you, but you also gotta not give a fuck about if people like love you and praise you and think you're doing a good job. Like, either way, you gotta not give a fuck. You gotta seriously not give a shit about anybody else's opinion but yours. See, my opinion of myself is the only thing that matters to me, not anybody's opinion, whether good or bad, of me. Like, that doesn't matter whatsoever. Because if you allow people to start praising you, you get a little bit cocky, you know, you start thinking you're the shit and you can do no wrong and you're infallible, and you fall off the horse and you lose momentum because you think you're forever in this place of like, I'm the shit, I've made it, I'm the best. And you get comfortable and then you just stop taking action, stop hustling. And your standards for yourself drop because you think you're just permanently like set. And then, you know, their opinion has influenced you by making you soft and weak and then give up. And even people's opinion of where they don't like what you're doing or they think you're a failure or a loser or whatever, like, that affects you negatively too. See, Stoics, like, I've been studying Stoicism, I've gotten really into it. They believe that, you know, you definitely do not consider anybody's opinion whatsoever. You don't accept praise and you don't accept like insults or anything. You just are completely indifferent to anyone's thoughts but your own, or anyone's opinions but your own. And you actively shut them out. This is the path to a happy life. That's why, like, I've stopped using social media largely. All right? Even uploading to YouTube, I'm kind of conflicted because, you know, my channel kind of involves me to keep you guys up to date with what I'm accomplishing and what I'm doing in life. But at the same time, I don't want to boast and I don't want to like tell people what I'm doing or get any kind of feedback because I want that to remain irrelevant to me. I want to continue to take action in silence, you know? I don't want anyone to know what I'm doing. I just want to be on top of my shit for the sake of being on top of it. I want to get jacked simply because I want to get jacked, not because I want the world to see. Just because I like being healthy, I like being fit, I like being strong, and I like the way I look. I'm not trying to impress anybody. I'm not trying to show people on social media how jacked I'm getting, whatever. And, you know, if you're human, the ego is just going to come and slip back in eventually. Like, it's going to keep coming back, and you're going to have to keep beating it, like, away. You have to find ways to continuously destroy the ego. And it's hard because it creeps back in and it sneaks in without you even realizing it. And I find that with myself too, is my ego every now and then will just keep creeping back in. And that hurts my progress more than anything. The moment I start developing an ego, I start really slacking and just stopping and losing momentum and losing all the progress that I otherwise made. So I gotta keep telling myself, like, I don't care about praise. Fuck that shit. I don't care about anybody's opinion. I don't want to see what anybody else is doing with their life. I could care less, because that has no effect on my progress. I don't want to know. I don't want to see. I want to actively avoid looking at Instagram and fucking Facebook, YouTube, etc. because that shit pollutes my mind, and it pollutes everyone's mind, in my opinion. It's just made society in a lot of ways worse off, in a lot of ways better off, because you can kind of show people your content and gain a following, but worse off because now there's this constant comparison. Now everybody's keeping tabs on everybody and keeping up to date with what so-and-so is doing with their life. It's like, this is what I'm doing. What are you doing though? It's just so toxic, and it's fucking up your potential and everybody's potential, and it's making people miserable. See, somebody who's a huge success, like financially or with women, can be miserable and suicidal. And somebody who hasn't really accomplished much from like a societal standpoint can be incredibly happy and just completely content and tranquil. So I'm not saying don't aspire to big ambitions and achieving great success, but all that really matters is like what's going on with your own sense of self and how you view yourself. Okay? So these are my 2 cents. These are things you must consider when forming criteria for yourself, and what's an accomplishment in your eyes, and whether or not you should pat yourself on the back. The answer is always yes. Okay? You are not your ego. You are basically consciousness. Okay? It's getting a little bit hippie, but focus on staying on your own path, consciously putting on blinders to what other people are doing. Give yourself realistic and bare minimum criteria for what's success in your eyes, and then just focus on consistency. And that's about it. Talk to you guys later. Peace.